Happy December!
The holiday season is known for bringing family and friends together and creating happy memories. But for some, holiday memories are surrounded by tragedy.
This December, we will be sharing one unsolved missing person story every day this month. We hope sharing their story will help bring them home for the holidays. Bryan Dos Santos-Gomes was just 4 weeks old when he was literally ripped from his mother's arms in Fort Myers, Florida. The date was December 1st, 2006, and Bryan's mother, Maria Ramos Dos Santos, was waiting at a bus stop with a friend when a woman pulled up and asked for directions. This lady stated that she was looking for her mother's house and had been driving around all over the place and could not find it. We had cell phones and GPS systems like the Garmin, but not everyone had these items, especially 16 years ago. I don't know if they were able to help this lady needing directions or not, but she ended up following the bus until the women and the baby got off at the next stop. Then again, she asked for help with finding her mother's house. Seems very aggressive, if you ask me.
It's interesting that she thought her mom lived in the area where she originally stopped, and now she's followed the bus. How far? I would assume at least a mile, because bus stops aren't every 5 feet.
Exactly. For some reason, the women and the baby got inside this lost lady's vehicle. It was a black 2-door Ford Explorer between the years 1998 and 2003. It did have peeling tint on the window and was dirty. The mother also stated there was a diaper bag inside the vehicle as well, but there was no children.
And no car seat?
There could have been. She just didn't mention a car seat.
Oh, okay.
This woman is described as a Hispanic female between 28 and 30 years old. She's heavy set, approximately 5'4" tall, with straight black hair, which was partially pinned up in a bun. She wore blue jeans and a black blouse or t-shirt and spoke Spanish, but she also spoke English, but she was able to speak to them in Spanish. While they are in the car, she pulls a knife on Maria. She demanded money. Eventually, she didn't get the money from the women. She made the mother and her friend get out of the vehicle, leaving baby Bryan behind. And according to Maria, this is the last time she ever saw her baby boy. The very first day of Bryan's disappearance, police were thinking that this could be a woman that had lost a child or couldn't get pregnant, and she took a baby, only less than a month old, because she couldn't have one. But law enforcement moved to different theories pretty quickly. Bryan's mother and father are undocumented immigrants from Brazil. They were smuggled into the United States by what is called coyotes or human smugglers. And apparently, the parents still owed these smugglers money for bringing them over. They had to pay them monthly, and if they didn't, there would be consequences.
I've heard lots of stories about that's how people get trapped when they're trying to come into our country, is they're promised that they would be brought in for a certain amount, a certain dollar figure, say, I don't know, $5,000. I don't know what the real rate is. I'm sure it's different depending on who the boss is. But say $5,000, they come up with that money, they pay that money. Then when they get here, they can say, sorry, it's actually 10 and you owe me more money. And then you're just forever in their debt.
Exactly. And this is really what happened. So police were leaning towards this theory for a while. The parents say that this really wasn't true, that these smugglers wouldn't do this. They wouldn't take their baby. And they had been in contact with these people since Bryan went missing. The father said they owed a little bit of money. It turns out a few $100s, I think, they owed.
Not enough to take a baby.
Well, you would think. A man by the name of Walter Coelho, who was known as an enforcer of a human smuggling ring, he was brought in for questioning at one point during the investigation. Bryan's father at first stated he didn't know who this person was at all, but then after some probing, he finally admitted he knew of him and that they were from the same town in Brazil, but they weren't very close. And he made it seem like this was not the smugglers that brought them over into America. I did also read a report that this guy was known to be an associate of Maria's, Bryan's mother. After bringing him in, police really couldn't find anything linking him to Bryan's kidnapping, so they deported him back to his hometown in Brazil.
Just because he was undocumented.
Yes, undocumented, and I think there were rumors of what he was doing, and so they're like, hey, let's just put him back. But you think that they're not going to send him back if they ever thought he had anything to do with baby Bryan's disappearance, because once he's in Brazil, there is no chance of ever finding him again. Let's be honest. So I really don't think this guy had anything to do with it.
Okay.
Many questions have been raised if the parents either sold or gave their child to the smugglers as their final payment. No evidence has ever come out pointing towards them, and they've never been named a suspect at all. Could these horrible crimes have been related to human trafficking? And Bryan and his mother were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is honestly what police believed happened now, because only a few hours after Bryan was taken, there was another report of a woman in a black SUV asking for directions to a grandmother that was walking with her infant grandson right around the same general area that Maria and Bryan were at. Very coincidental. In my opinion, if this report is true, this person is just going and taking as many children as she can, probably going to drop them off at someone else that's working with her.
It's too coincidental. It's too
I agree. Yes. Black SUV asking for directions. What are the likelihood of that happening that many times?
Mm-hmm.
What is even weirder is that Maria and this grandmother picked out the same woman from a lineup, that they thought that this was the person. Luckily, the grandmother and the baby were perfectly safe. She's got away from her. However, police cleared this woman. So whoever did this must look an awful lot like the woman in the lineup. So weird how they could just clear her even though two people pointed her out.
Or she's just really good at evading the police through questioning or whatever.
Or maybe she had a rock solid alibi that really wasn't rock solid. Very true. So where is this case now? Bryan's parents had 2 more children, but the father was arrested for driving without a license, and he was detained to be deported in 2009. But fortunately, in 2010, he was released under a supervision order. Maria stated that she is going to try to get U visas for herself and her husband. A U visa is for victims of violent crimes that allows undocumented immigrants to remain in the United States legally for up to 4 years so that they can try to figure out where their baby is.
Or it's for people, if they are victims of violent crimes, it's not just specifically for people who have lost their children, but it allows the justice system time to process these people, because what if they need to stay around to be a witness or someone's investigating their case? It allows them to stay in the area.
Perfect example. Yes, that would be another reason why they could use this. So baby Bryan is no longer a baby. He is actually almost an adult and is still missing. His case is cold, but police do follow up on all leads and tips that are sent in. Let's help bring Bryan Dos Santos-Gomes home for the holidays. Anyone with information about the abduction is asked to call the Fort Myers Police Department at 239-321-7700 or local FBI field office, of which there are 2 in Fort Myers, or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST.